Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the technical analysis, I have a pretty cool announcement. So if you guys remember, we've been sticking with the name Cryptocurrency Mastermind for over a year now. It's been over a year since I started the brand. But recently I've been thinking, that we need a refresher. And so now, thanks to a buddy of mine, he actually gave me this idea to rebrand the name to Profit with Ed. So in the description below, guys, just let me know what you guys think. All right, let me know if you guys like the name or if I should stick to Cryptocurrency Mastermind. Let me know what you guys think, if it's a cool idea or not. Let's get right into things. So currently we've been on this bull run with Bitcoin for a couple of days now. If you notice right here, we've actually been forming this ascending pattern, but it's still a possibility that we could still break down below and actually either form this ascending pattern or actually break down below it. I've actually set a couple stop losses for where we're currently at right now, and let me show you why exactly. So let me actually take all these out. Is that one, we've actually seen a huge decrease in volume. If you actually take a look at this candlestick right here, we haven't had the same momentum like we did back here. In fact, we've actually had less volume than we've had in prior times. So if you actually take a look at it, it's letting me know that one, there's not enough buyers in the space currently to uphold this price. I suspect we're gonna drop pretty significantly. On top of that, if you actually take a look at the MACD, the blue line with the orange, notice it's looking like it's pretty overextended now. And every single time we've actually been up to these highs, it's always managed to cross down below and actually drop significantly. Of course, I don't expect things to just dump right away, but I do think that it will affect the price, its current price action. So I'm keeping an eye out for that. I have set a couple stop losses just in case we do go down. Just because we're still in pretty good profit. We bought back down here when we start seeing that inverse head and shoulder. So again, you do not want to be greedy. As they say, technical analysis is all about risk to reward, risk management. Very important. We do have a strong support channel down here around the 7,500 range or so. Okay, so volume is still showing pretty strong right here. That's why we managed to break out of this. So I don't think that we would drop necessarily below this. I think the MACD will actually cross below right here and actually start to consolidate pretty hefty before we start making higher highs. I don't think this dip right here was actually enough for us to break out. I've actually never seen a coin try to break out after this right here. In fact, notice this drop right here from back here on February the 19th, we dropped significantly. In fact, we dropped about 16% before making highs again. And so it's pretty common for us to expect that we could probably drop significantly as well. So there might be a good retrace and pattern. If we do try to break out up here, I just don't see it sustaining that price action. So for a healthy movement, we have to correct. We need a healthy correction back to make healthy highs again. To make higher highs, we need to make that correction. Otherwise, if we do break out, then at that moment, I would be very speculative to think that it would actually hold that price and we would drop like a bomb. I would like to make a correction right now. I apologize because I had stated in the live stream that the Winklevoss brothers had applied for a second ETF. That is incorrect. It was actually the first ETF they had appealed for a second chance if it could actually go through with it. Of course, it was denied even after the appeal. So it looks like things aren't going to happen on that end. And so as you can see, a lot of people, especially CNBCs, they flooded that news like crazy. And that's why more or less we had this big drop right here. Although I will state that even before the news, we did have pretty low volume as well. So regardless, I expect this just drop to happen. I'm more of a technical analysis kind of guy. I don't believe in fundamental analysis more or less, because regardless of what news there is out there, you have to understand this is a free market. There are a lot of thoughts and process behind everybody's mind. Not everybody's going to think alike. So for me, the best way to predict price action is through technical analysis, just taking a look at volume indicators. Just like I talked about in that live stream as well, I did say how this was actually going to be a pretty good support line right here. Again, going back to the 1 day, let me drop a few lines. The first one being that from back here in February, we had dropped lows of 6,000. We've managed to build up this nice trend line right here. And you can see that we're still sitting right above it. We've managed to break out below here and sit above it. On top of that, if you actually take a look at the bear trend, let me first get the line. And lastly, if you guys remember, I talked about in the live stream as well, is that we also have this double top now enacting as a strong support. So for anybody that's new to technical analysis, any single time we cross above the lines, it no longer becomes resistance. It no longer becomes a downward force. It becomes an upward force. So it becomes a support line. And so now we have a three-way support line. It's pretty apparent in the line, not so much in the candles, but we haven't necessarily touched those support channels. So it's very, very possible that we still might retrace down here, down to lower lows. That's why I'm still keeping an eye. I do have a couple stop losses right here with Bitcoin. I might start setting a short. On top of that, I do like to utilize the RSI with the momentum indicator. And anytime, it works like a MACD. Anytime I've seen the RSI cross below the momentum indicator, it starts to decline. We can see that. Let me see, where's a good example of this? You see that right here when it had declined. We saw a huge drop in price action. So the moment it crossed, it also gives another confirmation that it's actually went down pretty far. All the indicators I'm utilizing, the MACD, the volume, the RSI, even the squeeze momentum indicator, is showing decreases in upward momentum. I think we've actually started to cap out here. So we can expect some more downward downtrend before making higher highs. So if you're looking to get into Bitcoin, I would be patient. Patience is key. And to see confirmations of good support, because who knows, from the next day to the other, things could change, but it doesn't usually happen like that. This market is volatile, but not that volatile. Okay, and so I'm going to be waiting out. I'm going to be setting some stop losses up here and trying to see if we confirm to break down below here, and before probably re-entering my positions. But I'm still pretty bullish. I think that things are still looking pretty good. Overall, though, if you take a look at the VPVR, we can see that on the 7,500 range, we're still seeing some pretty good support. So if I suspect that if we were to drop here, we'd see huge bounce in price action. So let's take a look at some EMAs now as well. I have the 4 EMA lines. I like to utilize the 15, the 36, the 140, and lastly, the 200. I feel like everybody's always got the 200 on there. The reason I like to use the 200 is because most traders, they use the 200. I like to use the 140 to replace it, but just a habit, I'm going to use it. You can see on the 200, we are sitting more or less above that support channel. I think the 140 better exemplifies that. You can see on the 140, that's where we end up bouncing off of it. If you guys don't already know this, even though in small time frames, things can look bullish, on the overall trend on the 1 day, we're still bearish. And so if we don't make higher highs eventually, then we will keep going back down. But the EMAs are still showing pretty good support structures, as well as the VPVR. But in the short term of things, perhaps in the next couple of days, I expect some consolidation. And so what's the effects of that? Usually when we see Bitcoin trading sideways like that, consolidation, jumping back and forth in small increments, a lot of times these altcoins, they tend to start bouncing back up. This CBOE news is actually keeping us pretty bullish for now. And as long as we have that positive stigma behind Bitcoin, that I think we can make some higher highs. I think that after a few corrections, after we get a little bit of some sideways consolidation, perhaps also start to rebound, we're going to make higher highs, and potentially it's possible that Bitcoin could probably see highs at around 10,000. Until then, that anticipation will keep a lot of upward momentum and good price action with Bitcoin for a couple of days. So it could, even then now, after a good correction, could still be a good entry point overall. And in my personal opinion, I think the ETF will actually be rejected. We've already seen a couple ETFs in the past be rejected. So to me, it's it's a possibility that things could be rejected from that point. But in the end, it's still a good opportunity to start making some positions in here and making some pretty good gains, especially if you leverage. I'm releasing a couple tutorials on that. I've had a few students that have made successful gains in the past couple of 2 days. Just take a look at Ryan here. He's been killing it. He pulled over 100% in 2 days. If you guys like this content, please share with your friends. Just trying to help out people here. That's what it's all about. Just helping out people to learn how to trade. With some good trading, you can go pretty far with that. You do not need a lot to make a lot. Okay, like I said before, Ryan, he pulled over 100% in 2 days. I mean, think about that. If you had $2,000, you pull over 100% 2 days, that's 2,000 you made in 2 days, okay? So you don't need a lot to make a lot. Just note that, okay? With that being said, guys, I'll see you guys on the next one.